Welcome to TFT 101. In this video, I'll teach you all you need to know to play TFT and not go 8 by default. In this video, I'll focus on the bare basics anyone should know if they want to play this game. This video is intended for absolute beginners. With that being said, let's begin. First of all, what is TFT and how do you even play? Well, TFT is short for Teamfight Tactics. It's an auto battler. Think of it like chess, for people that don't like playing chess. In order to win a TFT, you need to build a board strong enough to beat the boards of other players. You do this by collecting units, building up your trades, building up your units, choosing augments, and making items. Don't worry, I'll explain what all that means, but first we need to talk about the game's core mechanics that will help us achieve our winning board. So, let's talk about resources. In TFT, you only have 4 resources to manage: health, gold, experience, and items. So let's talk about health first, since it's the most important. You can get a rough estimate of how much health you have by looking at the bar on top of your chibi. You lose health by losing combats. When this happens, if your total health is lower than someone else's, your icon will shift down. This is important because the position you hold in this list determines when you get released during carousel rounds. This means that by losing health, you gain priority on choosing the items or champions you need. If your health goes below 1, you lose, and the position you hold on the ladder becomes your placement. In TFT, placing 4th or above counts as a win, technically. Being placed first grants the most points to our rank points, plus it feels good to win.
I can't stop winning!
Now that we have health covered, let's talk about gold. Without gold in TFT, you don't stand a chance of winning. You usually start a match of TFT with 0 gold and a unit worth 1 gold. Place the unit anywhere on your board, don't worry. It's impossible to lose the very first round, and even if you forget to place your unit, the game will do it for you. To start the game off, you get 3 creep rounds. These are creeps. Killing these will give you gold, items, or units. But let's focus on the gold for now. Gold is needed for buying units, buying experience, and rolling to find units. The amount of gold needed for these actions can be found easily. For rolling, it's next to the reroll button. For experience, it can be found next to the experience button. This will remain the same, always, except for certain augments. But you learn what does what as you play the game more. Units are also worth gold, and unlike experience or rerolling, the cost of units depends on the color of the border. Gray means 1 gold, green means 2 gold, blue means 3 gold, purple means 4 gold, and gold means 5 gold. If you're ever unsure how much a unit is worth, simply look at the side of the portrait or simply click on them. Now, let's talk about the mechanics of gold. You gain 5 gold per round by default. For every 10 gold you gain, an extra gold. This means if you have 10 gold, the next round you'll gain 6 gold, 5 by default, and 1 from interest. You can also gain 1 gold for winning a player combat. So if you have 10 gold and you win a combat, you will gain 7 gold the next round. Easy, right? However, one more thing to take into consideration when managing gold. You gain more gold from winning or losing consistently. This is called streaking. Streaks start after 2 wins or 2 losses, and they can grant you up to 4 additional gold. This means if you have 10 gold and you win your 4th combat in a row, you gain 5 gold from default, 4 from streaking, and 1 from winning, adding up to 10 gold. So how should you manage your gold? Well, it depends on what you're playing, but speaking generally, you want to get to 50 gold as quickly as possible. This will give you the most gold generation and the most wiggle room to figure out what you're playing. Next, let's talk about items and units. I'm going to talk about these two together because they're highly correlated. Units in TFT are the building blocks to victory. Most of your games will be decided by choosing the right units. Well, how do you do that? You might wonder. Well, let me explain. Units in TFT have 2 mechanics: trades and star level. Star level is simple enough. You get 3 of a unit and they combine, starring up. You can star up units up to 4 stars, technically. However, doing this requires specific augments or incredible luck. This is due to the fact that once you collected 9 copies of a unit and 3-star them, the game will stop offering you that unit, making augments and unit duplicators the only way to get more copies, so don't fixate on 4 stars. Next is traits. Each unit comes with its own unique set of traits. Traits are modifiers, which give your units a buff. These buffs can sometimes extend to other units not part of the trait, or only buff one unit. In order to make a winning team, a good balance of traits must be achieved. The best way to do this as a beginner is simply to look up what other people are playing. Lastly, before I move on to talk about items, I'll give you the basic rundowns on positioning. Positioning is the fancy word for where your unit is on your board. You can get the best way to position online, but the gist of it is, if a unit is a tank, put them in the front. If a unit is not a tank but simply short ranged, put them behind your tank so they don't get targeted first. Finally, the units with the most range are usually your carries. Put them in the corners to keep them safe. Now, we can finally talk about items. You can get components from creeps, traits, carousels, and augments. Mix your components together to make an item. You can check what components you can make by hovering over them or clicking next to them to see the full list. I won't go super in depth here, as items are situational and very much something to be handled on a case-by-case basis, but these are the basics. If your unit is a tank, give them items that give them health and resistances. If your unit is a close range damage dealer, give them a mixture of damage and survivability. If your unit is a long range damage dealer, give them damage items. You can check the best items for each unit on stab websites, as well as their best or best in slot. But do remember, you can't choose what items you get, so keep them in mind when you get them. If you want to try a build that deals with attack damage carries, but started the game with 2 rods, you might want to reconsider your approach. Now, let's talk about experience. You gain 2 experience per stage. Each time you reach the cap for experience for your level, you level up, and the counter resets, and the amount of experience you need to level up increases. Each level increases the amount of units you can put on your board by 1. This is important for reaching those high traits, as well as building a well-rounded team. Do keep track of what units you need for your team and what their cost is, because the higher your level, the higher the chance for higher cost units you have to appear in your shop, but also the lower chance you have to hit the lower cost units. This means that if your composition required a 3-star 1 cost, but you leveled to 7 before you got them, the chances of you getting them now is much lower and will require a lot more gold. For a more in-depth guide on when to level up, I recommend visiting bunnyfufu.com, where you can see the different leveling strategies. Do remember, however, each match of TFT is unique, and you won't be able to play the exact same way with the same results. Lastly, we can talk about augments. I left these for last because they're by far the most complex mechanic in the game. The basics of augments are, you get 3 of them per game, and each augment you pick will stay with you until the game ends. Augments can radically change the way you approach a game. That's why, instead of going to depth for what each augment does and how you play them, I'll give you the general overview on how to pick augments. The first thing you need to know when you pick an augment is what you need at the moment in the game. Combat augments are those which give you a boost to your fighting strength directly. They may do this by increasing your damage, attack speed, survivability, or healing. Econ augments are more like investments. They don't give you immediate power, but instead set you up to potentially have more strength later on. They do this by giving you gold, changing the way you gain gold or experience, giving you free rerolls, and so on. My tip to you is, if the game starts and your board is really good, or really strong, or really bad, choose an econ augment. This will help you snowball if you can win or lose consistently. However, don't take too many econ augments. 1 is okay, 2 is excessive, and 3 means you'll likely lose, unless you're really lucky. Now that you have all the bases covered, get out there, play some games, experiment, and most importantly, have fun. This has been Dr. Jerk, Gaming PhD. Thank you for watching.